welcome to everyone from CXOTV.news, a flagship brand under Tech Plus Media Group. We have been doing our Marketing Mondays webinars in this time, and here we go with a slightly different topic today, which is how to leverage inside sales in helping businesses scale. Going digital could be the key. Our first panelist is Ms. Nisha Tijare, Inside Sales Head from VM Software. Nisha has 18 plus years of experience, strategy sales professional with a demonstrated history of turning around difficult business areas of operations to drive results at scale. Nisha is known as ambitious and result-driven individual with a proven ability to multitask and work with all levels in the organization to create results. Our second panelist is Mr. Rajesh Borde, Country Manager Inside Sales at Hewlett Packard. Customer first, partnership first, and bias for action are the three guiding principles that define Rajesh's 23 years of career. Our third panelist is Mr. Sambit Ganguly, Senior Manager Global Virtual Sales at Cisco. Sambit has done inside sales roles in Dell, Lenovo, Genpact, has a total of some 17 years of inside and virtual sales experience. In Cisco, he leads the India and SAARC business for global virtual sales across commercial, public sector, and enterprise businesses. The definition of inside sales refers to any type of sales that are handled remotely, or you can say not in the field, right? Over the past decade, inside sales has come out to be the dominant sales model for reps in B2B, tech, SaaS, and variety of B2C industries, selling high-ticket items. An inside sales model routinely involves high-touch transactions over phone and email. Contrary to telemarketers, inside sales professionals are highly skilled and knowledgeable. Thanks to advances in communications technology, inside sales reps can give presentations, conduct demos, and perform most of the functions traditionally handled by reps in the field. Rajesh, what is inside sales? I wanted to hear from you. And where does it fit in the entire business value chain?
While you set the tone in terms of what inside sales is, but let me demystify it a bit. Inside sales is by the word or the definition of it is sales, but it is not typically something which is related to most people as cold calling, or it is not something where you would just say that it is a telemarketing engine, where people will just have a list of accounts to call. It is much more than that. It clearly is, I would define it as, it is exactly like back-to-back sales or face-to-face sales without the logistics of being there in front of the customer. Why this has evolved in a bit? The fact lies is that if you see consumer behavior or customer behavior and their adoption to digital technology, or now the word is phygital also, where you expect something digitally, something physically. But the fact lies is that more and more of our customers have started adapting digital platforms, and that has accelerated an inflection point where today we see customers accept engagements which are not, face to face, or they have also seen a behavior where, and specifically it has been accelerated with this pandemic, where you would expect a customer to say that I am okay to deal with organizations in the virtual presence and not in the physical part of it. Now if I look at all of this and connecting the dots in terms of what inside sales actually does, is a hardcore sales function. It is expected to do everything that a traditional sales organization would do. It is expected to grow customer relationships, the funnel, the business development, all of it. So to connect the dots with marketing now, if I look at what marketing does, typically marketing is a function where you will do demand generation, you will do event management, you will do brand awareness, and most importantly, the success of any marketing activity is measured, or the ROI for that campaign is measured by the post-campaign sales, or in terms of understanding what is the kind of funnel development that happened, what is the kind of awareness that we did. Each of these functions, when we look at it, let it be in terms of making sure that there is brand awareness created with the customer, inside sales plays a role. let it be in terms of during events getting customers to participate, or in terms of follow-ups, or most importantly that the post-event activities where you will have a database or a questionnaire or certain amount of relevance which is there in terms of that event, which could be either in terms of leads that are generated which require a follow-up. All that is taken care by inside sales, and that's where the marriage between inside sales and marketing is a close one, where it is complementary in nature to each other. Because if marketing does brand awareness to create a funnel, that funnel needs a closure, and that's where inside sales plays a role. So clearly this is where I see the merger of these two entities.
Thank you so much, Rajesh. Why is it important to have an inside sales team? Of course, the thought process comes as to how inside sales team can add value to business.
I'll pick up on the point what Rajesh mentioned. The customer has shifted, right? I started my career in 1998 selling fax machines on the streets of Calcutta. I remember I had to carry a fax machine, a demo unit on one shoulder, and some other documents in my hand. And I still used to wear a tie and go around all around the city of Calcutta trying to sell fax machines. I can't forget my target. I had to sell 6 fax machines in a month. That's what the environment I was, because the customer was sitting at a desk. Then came the telephone, and the customer moved to the telephone. And then came an email. The customer was at the desk with a telephone, and there was his email. Now you could find the customer at 3-4 places. In the current environment, to the point that Rajesh mentioned about phygital, which is an amalgamation of the physical world and the digital world, there are pseudo presences of the customer all across the cyber portfolio. He is present everywhere. He or she is present everywhere. They're at Google, they're doing their searches, they're at LinkedIn, they're doing their analysis there. So for a salesperson to be able to track the customer and to be able to get that customer's mind share for his offering or the value that he or she brings onto the table along with the solution, it is not just the desk or the phone or the email anymore. The salesperson now has to flank the customer from all places. At some points of time, you have to flank the customer outside your 9 to 6 p.m. as well. What is the customer doing after the 6 p.m. time frame? Now, traditional sales or regular face-to-face sales doesn't give you an opportunity to be able to do all of that, because it has its limitation of a face-to-face interaction, which is bound by rules and regulations of office timings, travels, etc. But when you do something as inside sales, and beg your pardon, I'm going to call it virtual sales because that's the term we use here in Cisco, and I feel that is the right term, because it's not just about being inside the office anymore. You're kind of present in the entire virtual world and trying to connect with the customer across that. That potential of connecting with the customer is boundless. You can connect with them in multiple areas and influence them with multiple information and multiple insights. So that is exactly why I think the inside sales or a virtual sales unit is extremely critical for the company. It is a pure hardcore sales function, but you can achieve a lot more with a virtual sales environment as opposed to what you would probably be able to do with a regular regular field sales environment, simply because your workforce is operating out of a desk with access to information and access to data at every given point of time. You want them to focus more on customer experience. You can get customer experience because your turnaround is faster. If you want the workforce to be a change agent for your organization, it's much easier to make an inside/virtual sales organization to become a change agent, because they will adapt to the changes faster because they're much more globally aligned. It depends on the strategy that the organization wants to pick up. If it's a coverage strategy, it's a hunting strategy, it's a low cost to serve strategy, it's a transformation of workforce strategy, any of the strategies that the company wants to fulfill, they can fulfill it by utilizing an inside/virtual sales organization by keeping the foundation of sales being the topmost priority constant. And the last piece is tying it back to what Rajesh said around why marketing and inside sales or virtual sales, when they work hand in hand, can be a stronger force. One of the key needs for marketing, and I'm assuming it's a very commonly used term, MQL, marketing qualified leads. That's probably something that most of the marketeers out there are trying to see, how quickly can I turn my marketing qualified leads into booking. So the primary objective is speed and agility. And that is something you get much to a higher degree with an inside sales or a virtual sales organization as opposed to a traditional sales organization. The speed and agility of converting that entire marketing pipeline called MQL into a next stage, which is SQL or sales qualified pipeline, and further to booking. I think that journey of marketing plus inside / virtual sales working hand in hand yields faster and quicker results.
A lot of things that we can still do to to make the marketing loop closed, right? To increase the marketing efficacy. At the same point of time, to support my sales organization in a much better manner. What are skills that are needed to be successful in inside sales team?
There are a lot of things that are different between field sales and inside sales. We usually discuss this, that as an inside sales folk, you will get to spend less time with your prospect on golf course and more time using technology. And so obviously the skill sets that you need are very, very different. Over the course of years, I have also found this great similarity of skills between, that most of the high-performing inside sales folks possess. The first and the foremost being the complete and thorough product knowledge. When you go and meet customer in person, more often than not, you have your technical person along with you. You'd be surprised that for 18 inside sales rep, there is one technical support. So, your first, second, third, all levels of technical calls, you're supposed to do yourself. When you are on the call with the prospect, it's just you and the prospect, and they are free to ask you anything. And if you don't end up satisfying them, they would lose confidence in you and you would lose the credibility. So it's very important that you know your product thoroughly. I have this rep in my team. Whenever this rep makes a call, all of us, and I'm not exaggerating, all of us stop making whatever calls we're doing and just sit beside him and listen, because some of us struggle to get basic information out from the customer, while this rep will end up taking a page full of information from customer. At times customers even share the data center blueprint, and you almost feel like there is this good consultation session going on around with the customer and the rep. And that is because he displays great knowledge when he's speaking with the customer, not just about the product, but about the industry, the challenges, the best practices, and a lot more. And, that is what sets you apart from everybody else. Second, and I'd say equally important, is smile and positivity. Especially the pandemic time, people are busy attending webinars like this, or trying to keep their workspace up and running and, doing a lot of digital activities. So when you call them, most often than not, they do not pick up the call. Or even if they pick up, they'd say, call me back later and stuff like that. You even get abused or, rejected a lot of times. But then even when you're making your 29th call, you have to open with the same smile. Your smile is your expression to the customer and the first impression. So if that does not pass through, you've made a bad first impression. Customized, researched, and innovative selling technique. That's a very unique skill. I see a lot of mails, customer putting to the reps today that after speaking with them, they felt like if they know them for a long time, or, they're complimenting and appreciating the reps, that this has been the most insightful discussion. All of this needs a lot of research, a lot of customization and innovative ways. So this is key. You just can't pick up the call and start calling. That's not inside sales calling. It's much more than that. I would like to talk about a very important skill, and that is collaboration. You got to understand, as an inside sales rep, you can't be superhero. If you want to do everything yourself, you would end up doing nothing. So it's best that you leverage the people around, especially marketing. The more you deal and you work collaboratively with marketing, the more you would see the results turning good for you. So collaboration is the key, both pre, during, and after your calling process. And that's where, the whole success area defines. So just to summarize, 4 key skills that I could talk about, and, I really look when I look for any candidate in inside sales, is his ability to self-learn and be competent in terms of product knowledge, the positivity and the smile that or the vibrancy that they could bring along, and their innovative, customized research-based approach and collaboration.
I'll come back to you on how to keep the team motivated, because I think that's quite a key ingredient, right? Can you share some common myths that are there around inside sales?
No, I love the myth part of it because there are many. Inside sales is primarily just 2 decades old, and there are still a lot of misconceptions around it. It is at all levels. It's not just limited to any audience. So I would begin by the most common one, which is the most difficult to address, which is with the stakeholders. Who are the ones who take a decision whether to have an inside sales team and not have an inside sales team? And when I speak with a lot of organizations who've started in inside sales and then either reduced the strength of the team or stopped inside sales, and I try and kind of understand, and the most common things that I hear and the myth I feel is they say inside sales cannot close deals on their own. Let me tell you, this is the biggest myth, and let me put some data points around. About 66, 68, 67 to 68% organizations, especially startup, they begin their sales journey from just inside sales alone. They don't have field sales at all. Their entire sales is driven by inside sales, and they are growing double-digit, triple-digit. Some organizations have more than 55% of revenue contributions coming in from inside sales. Veeam, the organization that I work for, is one of them, where a large part of contribution in terms of revenue comes from inside sales. So inside sales has moved much ahead of just opportunity creation to a proper quota carrying team. Then why this myth? Let me try and explain in the marketing language. This is the same problem, when your stakeholders come to you and say that we need 10,000 leads. To get 10,000 leads, you got to reach to 1 crore audience, and then you end up getting some invalid leads, and then they would review you and take you to task for providing a lot of invalid leads. But you got to understand that's the part and parcel. You take a petrol vehicle and you put a diesel in it and then expect it to drive. It's not going to work like that. I see those job descriptions on LinkedIn and the job descriptions, and I'm quoting big organizations, job descriptions of inside sales rep that they put: taking incoming calls, making quotes, sending quotation, taking care of the back-end entries, getting the delivery escalation done. And I'm confused. Do they really want operational people or customer service people? Because these are definitely not the job descriptions of inside sales. So if you really take people which are not skilled for the job and then say that they are not able to close sales, I think it's something wrong in the way you're looking at inside sales or leveraging inside sales. The second myth I see, which is there in people in general, is they possess skills which are needed for inside sales but do not apply for an inside sales role, because a very dominantly prevalent myth is that there are not many growth opportunities in inside sales. Or they feel that most people also think that we'll join in inside sales and then move on to field. Let me tell you, this is a big myth. Inside sales industry, as per an MIT study, is growing by 300%. For every 1 field rep, there is a 15 inside sale rep which are being recruited. For a vertical which is growing so exponentially, how can there be deficit of any growth opportunities? Obviously, they're going to be more managerial roles. But even if I leave beside the vertical growth, look at the opportunities. Sambit said it's not inside, it's virtual. And you look at it, virtual sales have gone beyond just the sales domain. If it is channel, you can drive your channel organization virtually. You could have your technical organization being technical experts virtual. You obviously have your customer service virtually. Even marketing is more of a virtual domain where you sit in the office and coordinate with a lot of agencies. Now, that gives you immense opportunity to have lateral movement. You want to try hands on any other cross function, you could easily do that being a part of inside sales team. So that's the second myth I want to talk about. And third, which most people possess, I confess being guilty of it when I started my career with inside sales, is more calls, more orders. Big myth. In fact, 35 to 50% of the time an inside sales rep spend is in planning and preparing for the calls that they make in the other half of the day. So no calls, and the number of calls have nothing to do with number of orders. It is more to do with the preparing and planning for it when you are making those calls. So I think that's another myth. These are just a few of multiple myths we have to encounter on a day-to-day basis.
It was good to note that. Thank you so much, Nisha. How do you see it has evolved over the years? What are the emerging trends that you see?
All sales have been a function of human interactions. And there's a little bit of an art and a little bit of a science to it. Sales is an amalgamation point of art and science, in my opinion. The more time you spend in that profession, your control over that art form gets better and better and better. And then you sit across the table, have a cup of coffee with the customer, and you close $1 million deal. The virtual sales model works a little bit on science, though. I am not undermining the art. The art form is, I am in awe of the art form of sales of some of my colleagues, some of the people I have seen. They are wonderful. I wish I could be like them. But you cannot take away the science from the sale. The other point is, while we've all been talking about technology playing a big role in the evolution of inside sales, we've seen the telecoms becoming economically viable made it easier. Then we had email. Now we have video, and it will continue. And I'll talk a little bit about where I think it will head. But there is also a partnership of technology that has to happen with culture, because culture will eat strategy and technology for breakfast if you do not have the right culture. So with these two things in mind, I will give you an example. In this pandemic, most of us have stayed home. I have definitely stayed home. And one of the things I realized in the house where I stay, I've been staying here for 10 years now, I wanted to redo one of the rooms. I started evaluating options before the lockdown, but unfortunately due to the lockdown, things didn't move fast. But imagine an interior design company. A lot of them did reach out to me and talk to me about an option of how they send me a few designs, nothing that I can't find in Google. What would make me change my decision? If a company could give me a value which nobody else has been able to give. You send me a design, I can find it in Google. What's new? What's next? Some of the things that come to my mind in the evolution journey are things like virtual reality or even augmented reality for that matter. And that is something that can play a big role in taking this to the next level. And for companies who are not doing technology sales, mind you, I have always been a proponent that this motion of virtual sales or inside sales, while it is very, very strongly prevalent in the technology sales or technology companies, it is something that can be practiced in the non-technology companies also. There are a lot of tech products which are today becoming consumer durables. The television is not a technology company anymore, right? Most of us don't think of it that way. It's more of a consumer durable, right? But can we have something there? Do we see a situation in the future where hologram technology can probably come in, and you never know, you can have a sales rep through the hologram technology if it is economically viable, standing in front of the customer, a holographic image of that person and making the demonstration. Imagine the impact that it will have. So these are all future, and we are not even there. But I think the two things that have to parallelly move in this entire evolution of inside sales or virtual sales is the technology aspect of it, which has moved very fast from maybe 2003, 2004 till about 2020. But we didn't see the next big jump after video. The one thing that this pandemic has done is it has ensured that there is a solid acceleration on the culture front. And people have started embracing this. And in the next cycle, the technology has to make that next big leap.
What are the new tools or technologies that are getting put to use, or you can propose to increase the efficiency and effectiveness of inside sales?
One of the biggest challenges which inside sales solves for organizations, and which will get accelerated during this pandemic, is that it helps you save field sales cost. It helps you save a lot of cost, definitely. The other thing that it actually helps you outside of cost is your reach to customers, not only during times like this, but the number of customers you can reach out to, the number of conversations that you can have during this time just get magnified. As against, I have been a career field sales guy. Unlike, most people with experiences in inside sales, my career has always been field sales. And I had myths about inside sales till I got into this role. So I can completely resonate with what Nisha said earlier about all those myths that go around inside sales. I had them. the fact lies is that there's so much more to it that you can do. But to do it efficiently, you need the right tools, as rightly said. I think it was mentioned by Submit and Nisha earlier that to make effective sales call, you require preparation. That preparation comes out of CRM tools. Every organization today says that we require CRM tools because you need to know the customer. You cannot have, without demeaning anybody, the one call that I really hate on a Sunday afternoon coming, sir, aapko credit card chahiye, and and it will come from a bank where I already have the credit card. So what does it tell me? First, it tells me about a very poor database. It tells me that somebody's not done their homework. And that's exactly the learning, The learning is that how well do you know your customer when you are making that call? Today, people want to have relevant conversations. They don't want to have conversations for the sake of conversations. Customers always say, what is in it for me? If that question is answered, or the ability to answer that question as to why an X solution is good for the customer, you need to know what the customer's background is, what is his industry, what are his pain points, and hence a company's CRM definitely is a must. That's one tool where any inside sales goes to first, and that's something that he has to do. I would add to that social awareness in terms of your social presence on platforms which are professional in nature, because today, we all, I again go back to the hologram example. Ask yourselves that in times ahead, you would want to live in perpetuality, where you would want your great grandchildren to be able to interact with you. Okay. Now, how does that happen? That happens by all the things that you tell about yourself and that you put onto the social media to create an analytics saying that how would you respond, right? So analytics plays a big role in any interaction that we do. To make it more contextual to the customer, what is his propensity to buy? I need to know that individual I'm talking to. What is his level? What is his, the interesting example which Nisha gave, about somebody understanding that Anna Hazare and he's this follower and making it contextual. All those things work. So how do you connect the dots between your CRM, the social network that is available, the digital networks that are available out there, the platforms that are available over there, and then you complement them with other tools such as whiteboarding, where you could do a virtual whiteboarding. I've been outside sales for such a long time that the only thing that we used to always do sitting in front of a customer was to do one thing, was to study his body language. You could come to know his interest level. You could come to know whether he was hooked onto it, all of that. In a virtual world, how do you do that? And one of our senior directors, Mr. K. Vikram, put it very nicely. In the current scenario, the one trait that we all have to learn is to see what we cannot hear. Let me repeat it. Is to see what you cannot hear. Because all of us are hearing people, but how do you see what they're not saying? How do you take those clues? So it involves a lot of training also. It means that you equip your people to take those cues where the non-verbal communication is understood. It was very simple when you sat in front of the customer. But how do you do the same thing when you're sitting across, not in front of him or virtually present, all of that. And hence, it has to be complemented in a way where you can hook on to the customer and have a measure to it. One of the measures that you have to also set in as a tool is what is the length of conversation you had with this customer and what did it result in? What is the kind of funnel that you built in? All of that. So you need to have these tools and techniques where you can do whiteboarding, you can do everything that you are doing on the field. Can you do it virtually? Can you do those demos which you used to do in the past? Can you give them as a remote augmented reality, artificial intelligence, what do you call it? How do you give the same experience to the customer?
Sure.
Because behavioral change is not going to happen overnight. It's going to take them some time for customers also to settle in and believe that large decisions can be taken. What gives me hope is that now jewelry is being sold online. So people are buying jewelry online, which means they can buy high value technology also online.
what sort of adjustments or modifications inside sales need to do to be relevant in the current times, with reference to marketing and COVID?
I would want to give my answer not within the boundaries of inside sales for this. Look, in this case, with this pandemic, everyone has had to evolve. It's not just inside sales, but of course, we also have had to evolve. Couple of things which Rajesh spoke about is one of the things that probably stuck onto all of you is funnel conversion. Sales is a function of funnel. Anyone wants to deny that, I'm happy to buy you coffee and have that debate. But I firmly believe sales booking is a function of the funnel. The biggest problem that has happened in the given scenario with all the cash flow issues and everything else that is going on around there, your definition of funnel has gone for a toss. Traditional wisdom is not relevant anymore, unfortunately. In my organization, in my kind of sales belief, I mean, everyone will have their, in Veeam, they will be probably following something else. Rajesh would be following something else. But typically with the set of customers that I work sometimes, if I have a 2x kind of a funnel, I would feel comfortable. Inside sales and virtual sales is a function of trends, function of, formula. Formulas have all changed now. So traditional wisdom has gone for a toss. Two things come to my mind which we have adopted and we have started doing and I feel could be helpful. You have to start segmenting your customers. In my opinion, currently, there are three kinds of customers, and this opinion of mine is not mine really. It is augmented by some reading that I did on some Moody's and Forrester's research papers. The entire industry, all the industries that are out there can probably be divided currently into three categories. The ones that have the highest exposure to COVID, medium, moderate exposure to COVID, and low exposure to COVID. And the ones with the high exposure to COVID are probably in a survival mode. The ones with moderate exposure to COVID are in an adaptive mode. And the ones with the least exposure to COVID are probably in a growth mode. And you have to now redefine your funnel and your business development and your marketing strategy. You can't have the same lens for all the industries and all the verticals anymore, because the priorities for these organizations and their leadership is very different depending on. Simple example, if you are in the airlines industry or in the luxury industry today, you are definitely in a survival. If you are a manufacturing industry or an IT, ITS or a professional services kind of an industry, you are in an adaptive mode, which is a moderate risk of exposure to COVID-19. And if you are probably healthcare, you are in a low exposure, which means you are trying to grow faster. Or if you are in a nutrition industry, that's something that is in a growth phase. So you have to adjust, redefine your strategy and your business development, your marketing tactic on the basis of these, and then redefine your funnel. The last thing which is extremely important, and I am going to build on this with what Rajesh said, it's important to know your customer, right? Because that is where you are creating value-based selling. I would like to go one step forward. I think now, given the current scenario, it is also important to know your customer's customer. Giving you an example, an IT/ITS company which is serving the airlines industry today, or an IT/ITS company which is serving the or a manufacturing company which is an auto ancillary company, they have to be categorized as high risk exposure as well. They might be in the IT/ITS zone. So it might be common sense for everyone to say, hey, my customer is an IT/ITS customer, but where is he going to buy your product if he doesn't have the money to get from his own customers? So that is extremely important.
What sort of SLAs or KPIs that you generally have or you propose to measure the success of inside sales?
In any organization, no matter what the job function is, there has to be a defined KPI. I mean, why is that job function relevant for the organization? Only gets defined when you say that what is the key performance parameter on which I'm going to judge this job function? How am I going to measure the success of it? How is the performance of this job function going to move the needle for the organization? And it is no different for the inside sales organization as well. Few of the things that get measured in inside sales, outside the sales part of it, is also the qualitative aspects. There is a quantitative aspect, there is a qualitative aspect. And when I look at the quantitative aspect, that's very simple to measure. Simple in the sense the sales quotas, things which can be measured, the number of calls that you've done, the funnel size, all of that gets measured very simply. The qualitative part is the one which is very important to capture here. And why it's important? Because that's where you will really understand the significance of a particular job function like inside sales. One of the areas which gets measured is that have we moved the needle ahead? And that is in terms of that the average ticket size of a deal which an inside sales rep was handling, in a particular year, has that gone up? It tells us two things. It tells us that using inside sales, can I sell more value to my customers? Can I sell large ticket items to my customers? And that is something which is softer in nature, because you can do a lot of small things and still meet your number or blow your number or whatever it is. You could have more number of customers that you could do it. But how do you measure the qualitative part so that you say that in the future, I'm going to invest more, and this is where I've seen the growth happening. The other aspects in terms of, SLAs or whatever you call KRAs that go along with inside sales are all in terms of the impact that inside sales can have on the organization's results. Let it be in terms of the revenue, let it be in terms of customer satisfaction, let it be in terms of future-proofing yourself by having a great funnel. All of them are correlated in a way, and these also become key performance parameters. In times like this, just shifting gears, that how do you keep a team motivated? Just look at the team, the Australian team. They were scandalized by having a paper gate. Somebody had the brainwave that you could swing a ball using the sandpaper. Brilliant technologies coming together, and they had a complete change. But they came together, and they started building on a team, saying that we will build from scratch and take it up. Situations like this also demand that sometimes you might not be down in the pits, you would be having a great year, and all of a sudden, COVID-19 happened, and all your future plans need to get realigned. You have to get out of your comfort zone. The biggest challenge that we find ourselves is how do you get people out of the comfort zone? And the biggest way to get them out of the comfort zone is to engage with people. When you see the bigger picture and you understand that, look, what you are doing right now is not going to get you there, that's when you start the journey of changing. To keep the team motivated, we have utilized things such as, having healthy competition. So we give case studies, live case studies of actual deals happening in the organization, and we formed teams and they were competing against each other. There was a friendly competition. It threw in 2 or 3 challenges. People were virtually present. They were not sitting physically with each other. They had to collaborate. These were not people from the same team. We made great efforts to make sure that they were cross-functional teams, which means that if you belong to one team, your team member would be from some other team. And at the end of the day, the exercise involved them presenting with every member having to present. So that gave us chances to build collaborative skills. That gave us chances for team building activities and a lot of fun to go along with it. And with the healthy competition, you should have seen the kind of names that they gave their teams, and that itself was a creative anniversary. What we have also done is, as a technology, we've utilized video in a very big way. Until now, inside sales did not have a face with the customer. It was primarily a voice and not a face. With customers getting more and more comfortable with tools, where they can interact with you in this manner, we have utilized video in a great way, where now you can reach out to that customer, have a conversation. Some of my colleagues in my team have done a fantastic job. They have gone and had interviews conducted with customers, and we've got something going on in our organization where we've canned about 10-15 such videos where they've had conversations and great insights. And it really builds a morale, confidence, different way of doing things. And at the end of the day, it's all about having fun.
What do you like the most about this role? Or should I say, why did you choose to move to inside sales role from a field sales role?
took a smart decision to be a part of the motion that would redefine the future of how sales are done or business growth. But that besides, I can't lie in this forum because there's one panelist who really knows why inside sales happened to me, and that is because one visionary leader, Dheeraj Gaba, really convinced and spoke, had a conversation with me on what it takes to be an inside leader. And it's one of the most challenging jobs, as he states. It needs you to drive rituals, drive discipline, drive, cadence and culture, because most inside sales jobs have high attrition rate. It is challenging. We spoke about the multitasker an inside salesperson needs to be. You got to be art, science, everything put together to really deliver results. And it's not easy job. It's by no means an easy job. And so he was the one who said, it would give me a different set of challenges, and that's how inside sales happened to me. But and it wasn't easy. I had some of the guys know I had to take up personal coaching to kind of help myself understand inside sales piece and all of this much better in the early stages when I took up inside sales. But now I live with the inside sales thing every passing breath, and I can go on and on with what I like about inside sales team. But I would begin by a very important thing that this inside sales taught me, and that is the ability to conquer the fear of rejections. We are rejected 100 times more than any other person. And, we still end up being very, very confident, go back to the customer with the same smiling face, with the same positivity, and try and bring revenue. So we now not much bothered about rejections. We know that it's an opportunity. And, the fact that they have rejected is giving me another chance to speak and try and change the mind. And you feel more powerful when you change such objections. So that's one thing that this inside sales has given to me. Another thing that both my esteemed panelists spoke about is being technical and digital evangelist. In any organization today, if you have to talk about how to leverage social media platforms, or how to engage with marketing, or how to leverage other CRM tools or anything of that sort, you would want to have an inside salesperson talk about it. There's no one better than inside sales who could evangelize the whole adoption of digital and technology in a much larger scale as we do. So it's good, to be the change maker. Like Mahatma said, if you want to change something, the change begins with you. So we are those change makers. Third thing is, as I said, it began with that. It gives a never-ending challenging role. You come up with newer challenges every time, and that's why I'm hooked on to this. I'll tell you one more great thing about it is it helps you build your individual brand. 15 years of my field sales experience, I've handled various verticals. I've met great customers, and I've had good CXO relationships. I still nurture them. I still call my customer, which I handled, back 20 years back, and we are still in talking terms. But the number of contacts that I had in 15 years, I've made more than those contacts, both in partner community, in customer community, alliance, and other affiliates in 2 years of inside sales. That is the power of scalability and reach of inside sales that nobody else can give. So I am in awe of inside sales completely. And lastly, I would, since this is the last question to me, I would lastly say what I like about this role and why I would want to pursue this role ahead is the relevancy of it. 3 months of COVID, enough to give you examples that inside sales works. Now everybody is training others to have, to do inside sales. Virtually, I made this joke to my boss that I don't have just few people reporting to me now as an inside sales. Your whole organization is inside sales today. So that's how relevant we are today, and we would continue to be because of the advance in technology. And if you listen to the recent HBR review of Fortune 500 companies, and even some organizations, less than 20% organization wants a face-to-face conversation. They're happy with virtual conversation.
We have got one question from one of the audience. What's the difference between inside sales and pre-sales?
I have not done pre-sales, but here's my belief. Pre-sales is agnostic to the motion. Inside sales is a motion. Pre-sales is something very different. Pre-sales can work on an inside sales or a field sales environment as well. Even a field salesperson would need to have the pre-sales support, especially if they are in a technology sales kind of a domain. Pre-sales is where you actually qualify. When you want to go and sell something to a person, you must have heard about stuff like upselling, cross-selling. Every company wants to do that. And that's something that the pre-sales organization helps you to achieve. And it is usually built of specialists for that technology domain. Inside sales or field sales would usually constitute of generalists, in my opinion.
Being technically strong is one skill of an inside sales or a technical salesperson. But it's a sales role, which needs a lot of other skill set in terms of persuasion, in terms of prospecting, in terms of leading throughout the sales journey, a lot of sales cycle, which most pre-sales do not feel comfortable doing. At the same time, a pre-sales role need a lot of solution designing, making those solution documents, studying the customer environment, and so it's more of a prescription kind of a role that a pre-sales do. So while both of them have a common factor of being technically strong, they are very independent roles, and the expectation from both the roles and the skill sets needed from both the roles are very, very different.
Which is more important, ma'am? Field sales or inside sales for technology product?
Straight answer is both are important. It depends on the objective you want to drive. It has its own merits. Inside has its own merit. If you're looking at agility, coverage, reach, and the speed to go to market, inside sales is your answer. If you're looking at depth, if you are looking at targeted approach, field sales is your answer. So it depends clearly on the objectives, as Sambit said, you want to drive. And both are equally important. When I talk about inside sales, by no means I want to say that field sales is not important or it should cease to exist. With inside sales, what we eventually do is free up the time of field to do more value-based work, to go deep into the accounts. And while we could take care of the scalability, we could take care of really providing the run rate is what people say, and we would want to stick to our basics. We don't want to dilute why inside sales is born, and we want to stick to it. Both are important in my view, and I leave to Sam and Rajesh to add to that.
It's not about importance, what is more important or what is less important. In any organization, what's most important? Your ability to be relevant to your own organization drives what is important. If inside sales can drive sales in that organization, it becomes more relevant. If the outside sales is the only way that the organization believes that business is going to be done or conducted, then that becomes more relevant. As an individual, my input would be that don't let job titles confuse you. Whatever role that you do, you have to do it to your best of ability and make sure that you scale in that where you become relevant for the organization, where you contribute to the organization positively. Then every role becomes relevant, it becomes important.
It's as much as at the buffet counter, you want to have a dessert or a savory. It depends on your appetite and the outcome that you want to derive out of it. What is your palate for it? You want to have a sweet tooth? I definitely want one. I would go pick up the dessert.
Thank you, Dada. Thank you so much, Nisha. Thank you, Rajesh.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.